Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a fabulous middle of the week kind of a Wednesday. And I would just like to mention that Miss Anne Marie is joining our member meetups class here for the first time today. So a big welcome and thank you to all of those who are our regulars here. Tammy, Benny, Candace, and Vanessa. Love having you guys all here. It's always so much fun. And so, Anne Marie, I don't know how much chance you've had to explore Collectively Rewilding. I'm going to be putting out the new member launchpad. I'm actually going to do one of those this evening. So hopefully you'll have a chance to jump in there, but it's very comparable to Lesko Help 2. It's the same platform, Mighty Networks. So I think you'll probably feel right at home right away. And so for today's class, we are talking about the how-tos of community outreach. And that really goes so well with both of our communities here in Collectively Rewilding and in Lesko Help 2. And that's why I always share these videos over in Lesko Help 2, because a lot of us are doing things that involve us reaching out to people in our community, perhaps going to a meeting like what I will tonight for the Tooele City Planning Commission meeting, right? And so let's just dive right into that. That's what I'll be doing at 6:00 p.m. Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern. I'm going to go to this planning commission. It's my first time there. I'm a little nervous. I'm really hoping to finagle my neighbor Bart into joining me. I tried to get him into class today. I called him. He didn't answer. He works graveyards. So he's normally getting up and starting to get ready for his work day right about now. And so he might have still been asleep. So I just let it ring a couple times. And then I sent him some texts. And you better believe it, here about 5 o'clock, I'm going to be knocking on that door like, are you coming with me, please? No, it's not that big of a deal if I have to go by myself, right? You get better and better at those things as you get older, I think. I used to always have to have a book with me. If I went somewhere and I was all by myself, I didn't want to sit there just feeling all by myself. So I'd always have my book so I could pull that out. And who cares whether people thought I was by myself or noticed it or didn't. I was lost in my book, right? And so it does get easier and easier if you force yourself just to simply go through that discomfort, because that's really all it is. It's fear of the unknown. It's a biological process, that fight or flight kind of anxiety driven energy. And almost always, if you force yourself through that anxiety and just go do the new thing, you'll figure out that it was nothing like what you were worried about. Maybe things don't go exactly as you had hoped, but they aren't nearly as bad as you might have imagined. And many times it's not even hard at all. You just go, it just works, and everything is relatively easy. That has been my overall experience. I'm almost 50, got a couple more years there. And then I have lived in 7 different Western United States, moved extensively in most of those states. About 60 times is where I'm at for moving now. And I have always worked to bring community wherever I go, meaning there's already community there, but I want to bring myself into whatever community it is and perhaps build up a new segment within that community, right? I'm always about the children, the planet, the plants, the animals, the insects, and all of those things are pretty easy to talk about when you're going out and approaching new people in a community. But it doesn't have to be about my topics. It can be about anybody's topics. And I think that you'll find, if you haven't already done it before, that it's quite a lot easier than you're worried about. I still do get very trepidatious. I have to force myself to go. I have to talk myself into it. I have to just keep saying, Sabrina, you're going to go do this. You're going to go do this. It's not that big of a deal. You can go do this, right? And I really encourage you to step out of your comfort zones and start doing some things like this. One of the first things that I did, because I came from a very small town, Cortez, Colorado, it holds pretty steady about 10,000 population in the southwest corner of Colorado. And I lived there until I was almost 10. And then from my little bitty town that might have only been actually about 8,000 so long ago, we moved to LA County, to the suburbs of LA County, and talk about culture shock. I went from being a very outgoing, well-known entity in my elementary school to being one of the wallflowers, hiding behind my glasses, hiding behind my books. I found a few good friends and I tried to hide. It completely shifted my personality. And so as I began to re-enter feeling confident in myself in a public setting, one of the first things that I did was start talking to people at the grocery store. And you will get some looks like, are you nutty? Why are you talking to me? But most of the time, people really enjoy talking back. So I'll be looking at the tomatoes and I'll be, oh my goodness, these tomatoes look so good. Or, oh, I don't know if I'm going to find a single tomato I want in this pile. And I just say it to the stranger standing next to me with a smile on my face. And about 7 or 8 times out of 10, I get a response or a smile in return. It's just that easy. You just open up your mouth and say words with a smile on your face, and more often than not, people will engage back with you. It's very easy to start practicing. Anytime you're at the gas station or the convenience store, you're picking up your kids from school, whatever it may be, just randomly start a conversation with your nearest neighbor who you're by as a stranger. Look at the sky, talk about that, talk about the weather, talk about your kids, talk about what you're going to have for dinner that night, whatever, and just start practicing striking up a conversation with a stranger in an appropriate setting. You know, we're not going to go knock on someone's door and say like, oh my gosh, did you see the sky today? It's glorious. No, probably not. But while we're standing in a line waiting to pick up our kids, that's a perfectly appropriate conversation starter, right? So any thoughts or questions about engaging with people that you don't know? Is this something you guys do regularly or something you're really scared to do?
I do it regularly when I go out, Sabrina. I'm
That
not shy.
doesn't surprise me, Tammy.
Yeah, I love talking to people. And you just don't know who you're going to run into, and just starting a conversation, stepping out of your comfort zone for sure. Yeah, I love
Or
it.
maybe, you know, for those of us who are as gregarious and have practiced it for a while, it becomes more a part of ourselves, right? But yes, absolutely. How about anybody else? Everybody's crickets. Oh, it's
I'm pretty
really,
shy.
you're shy, Anne Marie.
Yes.
You know, maybe instead of even using words, if you just smile at someone, make sure to catch their eye and smile. And outside of the Salt Lake area and Cortez, Colorado, 9 times out of 10, just smiling at someone, I would get a response of a smile back, engaged eye contact with a returned smile. Does that sound like maybe a more comfortable exercise to begin practicing?
Yes, of course. Yes.
And when we talk about the two communities and how-tos for community outreach really does work as well in Lesko Help too, as it does in collectively Rewilding, when you're thinking about doing your grant searching, is it more comfortable for you to think about reaching out to someone that you don't know on the phone than handling them in person?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, good. So those are your practice pieces, right? It's like when I had a daycare, and we all know how picky children can be, right? So I believe in exposing children to healthy foods consistently. And I was also a very picky child, so I have a lot of understanding for it. And so what I would do with my daycare children, they wouldn't have to eat a tremendous amount of everything on the table. They would have to eat a small bite, about the size of a pencil eraser, 1 to 3, depending on the pickiness level of the child and how long they've been in my care, 1 to 3 little bites of whatever was on the table, about the size of a pencil eraser. And you know, those children, it's been a long time. I was up in Wyoming primarily. I did do a little bit of in Colorado when I moved back, but those children, their parents still tell me to this day that they give my daycare credit for those children eating almost anything that's put before them and enjoying it. And it's the same thing when we start any new habit. We don't have to take on the whole container. We can take off the top pieces out of the container that we're comfortable doing, finding a path that we will actively start working towards pursuing. So it takes the average human 30 days to implement a new habit, a new pattern. And so you might not be able to do it daily at first. So the first foray is trying to do it at least once a week or maybe twice a week, and then building up from that. And soon you're doing it 5 times a week. And then maybe instead of continuing to push that element, you keep practicing it, yes, but then you pursue the next element and you start increasing that. Doing things in manageable, yes, bite-sized pieces, even though they're not all bites, right? But thinking about it like that. When we talk about gardening, you don't have to go to a full 16 feet of garden. You can start 16 by 16, right? Because actually a 4 by 4 square, which is a pretty small garden to start with, it's something that you can get really nice results from. A 4 by 4 square is 16 square feet, but it's not overwhelming. It's just a little 4 square box in your yard, right? Or you can even start off with just a couple of little pots on your windowsill. Or if you're the kind that likes to just jump in full bore, you can do as much as you're ready. And that's why each of us make these journeys our own, whether it's working with nature, working with grants, working with community. Find a way to make it something that you will be able to start working towards consistently doing, right? We don't need to be perfect, but we got to start somewhere. So when I get out of shape and I get too busy and I get away from my yoga, I'm probably not going to go right from not doing it to doing it every day. I will start trying to do it at least once or twice a week, and then every other day, and just see if I can increase what I want to as I go along, right? And so, any thoughts? Anybody ready to go start putting this into practice? Or Tammy, are you like, I'm an old hat. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing this.
I honestly, I'm Italian, so I talk a lot in general. So I just go around to people and start talking. Yeah. That's just
I'm a
me.
Leo, right?
Yeah,
Dramatic peoples, I don't know that they're that gregarious. And we all know that the English are not very gregarious. Scottish, maybe a little bit more so, but they're known pretty much for being kind of taciturn and strong but silent. So I'm just an outlier, I just talk.
My mom's a Leo, and she just loves talking to random people. Like, you should meet them. Just like her, for sure.
And I'm a cusp baby, so I'm Leo Virgo. So that's why I'm both so gregarious and so well organized, right? So fun stuff. Anyone else? Any thoughts? What about you, Miss Candace? In thinking about getting your community gardens going and your veggie bus, are you pretty comfortable talking to new people, or is it something you'll need to work into? And sometimes she can't answer, guys. I think she gets busy doing whatever it is that she's got going on, but we'll ask her to unmute just to see. And she wants to get a community gardener to support a veggie bus to go around in her community in Tennessee. And so she seems like a pretty gregarious person. My guess is that she doesn't have a lot of problem talking to strangers, but we will have to bug her another time when she can talk a little bit more about it for sure. Hey, Kendall, what about you?
What's up?
Everything and nothing all at the same time. And you?
Everything's good. Can't complain.
Very good. Very good. So I'm guessing you two are pretty easily able to go and strike up a conversation with a stranger if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of have to have that skill a little bit if one's going to teach children, right?
Yeah, all around a business.
Very true. Very true. If you can't pay somebody to do the public pieces, then you've got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, we have the meeting all planned, guys. It's all right here. I've added a few things, but what I'm going to be worried about tonight when I go in, first and foremost, I'm going to find out if recordings are allowed. And if they are, I will record it either audio or video if I'm allowed to share with you all. I want to just kind of keep an eye on how many people attend, what do they talk about, how many of them get up to speak, and where are they at in determining what they want to do with this undeveloped land here to the southwest, right? That's a big, big deal to me. That's literally my street. It's 2 houses this way, a street and a house that way, and then there's nothing but undeveloped land out here. So whatever they do on that undeveloped land is going to have a huge impact on my life, my family, our business at this property, the amount of traffic going through our streets, all these things, right? And we moved here knowing they were going to develop that. So it might be a little bit harder on some of the people who've already lived here for a while. You know, they don't want to give up that undeveloped land. They make use of it. They go out there on their ATVs and their little dirt bikes, and the kids take their dogs out there, and the adults go out and walk out there with or without dogs. And it's a very active, undeveloped plot of land. So they're going to be very sad. I'm going to be sad as well, but I always knew that was coming. So I don't have probably the same kind of attachment to it that they do. And so we're not upset that this is coming, as many of these folks might be, but we would love to have some sort of ability to communicate our thoughts about what would be positive and what wouldn't be so positive in regards to that development. And so where are they at with that? And then they do have a tree advisory committee here in Tooele, but they don't have anything up literature-wise from either after 2021 or 2023. I can't remember. I think it's 2023, but even there, we're looking at 2.5, going on 3 years of no communication on the internet, at least, about what's going on with this tree advisory committee. So if this is an appropriate venue and a chance comes up, I would like to find out what's going on with that. Do they have plans for how they're going to get rid of the trees that are not really very desirable in the city easements? Or are they going to let citizens, have more control over that? Or are they going to wait until they have a plan and we're not allowed to cut them down? What is going on with these yucky trees that are in everybody's city easements on the sidewalk? And so that's the basics of what I will go over tonight. Any suggestions, anything else you guys think that I should be wanting to try to ask or find out?
You can always are you able to look up the what's it called, the Consumer Financial Annual
Consumer
Finance?
Financial Protection Bureau is more like when you want to let somebody know that somebody's not doing something right.
The CAFR, I forgot what it's called, but it's basically every city, town, county has a comprehensive financial annual report. CAFR.
No, I probably won't worry about that. Money and numbers are not my strengths, so it would do me very little good to find out any of it, and I really wouldn't be able to suggest or participate with it, but probably would be a good thing if I could, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, money and math give me a headache. I am all about that written word.
You don't like the M words?
I don't like math words. Even if it's a written word, if it's about math, probably not. Just the way Matthew talks about English, that's how I feel about math. Yes. Not my friend. And I have flunked more than one situation. So on my ACTs, I got a 100% on my reading comprehension and did comparably with all the English. And then on my math, I got, what is it? It's 36. So I got a 36 there. And then on my math, I got an 18, which is an F. So yeah, not my skill set. But I am going to start having to deal with that as the business of collectively rewilding. And so one of the things that my SBDC mentor has pretty much demanded is that I don't file my own taxes this year, that I actually go not through TurboTax if I don't want to go through a personal accountant, because I don't know anybody here. I don't know enough about it myself to know if they're viable and giving me good information. So he said, go to H&R Block then, where I'm actually in the office talking with a person, I'm giving them my receipts, etc., all these pieces. And so I have to start getting some help in regards to the numbers for collectively rewilding. I have to get legal documents drawn up that include a financial structure inside of those for different pieces and things like that. So even when we're not great at writing or math, we have to know that at some point we're going to have to deal with those pieces, right? And so we may need help. And that's where we look to those SBDC mentors, because they're free. They can guide us to get the cheapest or quickest or most useful pieces instead of out there just kind of blindly trying to figure it out on our own, right? And so this year I will be hiring a tax accountant. I think Benny is a tax accountant. Is that right? One of you is, but it's not
Well,
you, right? Kendaz, I always think it's you, but it's Benny.
no, I do taxes.
You do taxes. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, maybe does Benny do taxes too? See if he's got it in the chat here.
Yeah,
Benny
Ben.
can't think of anything else to add either. So, um, but yeah, math is my kryptonite.
I was gonna ask, you should ask him if they do Zoom meetings for the council and stuff, because sometimes they do, you know.
You know, I think they do that. And I will ask.
You should be able, and if you do, then you should be able to record, but then if they Zoom, we can go in like that too also.
That's a really good suggestion, Vanessa. Very good suggestion. Okay. Do you record and post these meetings, right? Mark. And Benny hasn't thrown anything more in the chat, so we'll leave him be about that. All right, guys. Yeah, that's a great one. I threw that on there, Miss Vanessa. Thank you for that. So let's go ahead and jump into our calendar. Sorry for missing Monday and Tuesdays, but when everything goes so crazy in LH2 and everything gets shifted on me, it gets really hard to be focused enough to come in and have the classes. So I do apologize about that, guys. But hopefully we're starting to get things straightened out over there, and I'll start being able to be more consistent again. So we will be back tomorrow. It is at a new time. I'm trying to lower everything down because Miss Tammy just doesn't do well in the later parts of the evening. And of course, we want her to have the opportunity to join us if she can. And I think it's just really going to be a little bit better for a lot of people to get that lowered down in time. So tomorrow, our new time, this Thursday, the 11th, will be at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 5 o'clock p.m. Mountain, 6 o'clock p.m. Central, and 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern for garden planning Q&A. We've gotten really far. I'm really pushing that envelope and getting us ready to go. You see, we've got the cards all ready for us now. I just have to break those months up and finish, I think July through October that I've got to get finalized and then break those up. But we're really getting somewhere, and sometime this week you should start seeing those getting populated in the weeks instead of just one card for a month. And we will jump into all of this January. Let's see, our first garden planning Q&A of the new year will be on Thursday, the new year, January 1st. And our first garden planner, the Plan Your Wild workshop, will be on Monday, January 5th. And that's where we're going to start diving into these, and they need to all be ready for us to go. And we'll have week 1, 2, 3, 4, and sometimes 5 of each month to really have a structured idea of what can be done. And then that way we're really well able to select what we want to do ourselves to move forward at each point with our garden. So I'm really looking forward to that. We'll definitely be having a lot of fun and getting a lot of support to stay on top of the timing of our garden. Know that, hey, I don't have to have all the pieces, but if I want tomatoes, this is when I have to start my warm weather seedlings, or I'm going to need to buy those seedlings, and this is when they need to go in the ground. And it'll be so clear for each of us as we go through those personal reports, because for each of us, that timing is a little different, right? And so while this class will help us stay on top of our overall tasks, our individual timing will be varied depending on where we're at in the country. And so it's going to be very interesting to flesh that out and run through the trial period of it for 2026 so that it's all completely solidified and ready to go public 2027, right? All right, guys. So we will see you all then tomorrow, if you're able, for a garden planning Q&A. And again, that's 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 5 Mountain, 6 Central, and 7 Eastern. All right, everybody. Please feel free to unmute your mics and say good night, or good afternoon, or good day.
Hey.
I'll see you guys later on in the next hour or so. See you guys later. Bye, Sabrina. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Enjoy your afternoon. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Anne-Marie, for coming in as your first class.